Meow. Cats aren't exactly known to follow the law, but back in the land of medieval Wales, there existed a set of laws known as Cyfreith Cath, the law of the cats, and across 3 different legal codes we are shown a fascinating picture of just how valuable this beast was in medieval society. There are laws about what they should look like, what their jobs are, and how much they're worth, and most importantly, if you wanted to become a medieval cat salesperson, this video will teach you exactly how to do it. These are the medieval cat laws. Laws for your medieval cat. Chapter 1. Assigning monetary value to your cat's appearance. What? You can't put a price on that face? Well, in medieval Wales, you absolutely could. I should clarify, Wales at this time was made up of several kingdoms, and while the surviving legal texts are basically the same, they have several key differences which either reflect local changes or just the passage of time. And the legal value of a cat is a perfect example of this. The law in North Wales, p.xviii-xxii, is the simplest. To have value, a cat must be able to see, hear, it must have claws, kill mice, and not only be able to have kittens, but also not to eat them. A quality that I think more people should seek in their potential partners. The law of cats in southwest Wales, p.xviii-xxii, are a little more particular. Not only do they have to have all the qualities listed above, but a cat must also have good teeth and mustn't wail at the moon. Finally, in South Wales, p.xviii-xxii, we come to the most specific. Not only must they have all of the qualities listed in North Wales, and the additions listed in South Wales, but they must also have a good tail and not have any burn marks. So as we can see, the general value of a cat here was to kill mice, and this was mostly reflected in the qualities they were required to possess in order to hold any legal value. Plus the occasional addition of not wailing at the moon and not being burnt. So if your critter has all of these talents, how much could you get for it? Every legal code here agrees on one specific thing, one fundamental concept. One adult cat is worth 4 ceiniog. Now, we could sit here for 10 years discussing how exactly to translate a unit of currency from over 1,000 years ago, but luckily the surviving laws make it a bit easier for us. Because while I can't easily tell you what 4 ceiniog would be worth today, I can tell you what it would have been equivalent to back then, in animals. So, one adult cat, chiefly used to protect your barn from mice, had the same value in North Wales as 1 adult goat, or 4 geese, or 4 chickens. In southwest Wales, a cat was worth 2 geese, or 1.5 goats, or a lamb in August, or a baby horse from the time of its birth until August. Very specific. Finally, in South Wales, these beasts are worth the equivalent of a post-August lamb, or 4 newborn piglets, or 4 ducks. So while trying to adopt a cat from your local shelter in exchange for 4 geese might not work today, back then, it would have been a perfectly reasonable, legally valid trade. Interestingly, while all the laws specify an adult mouse-catching cat is worth 4 ceiniog, only Gwynedd assigns a value to its previous forms. So, if you wanted to sell a kitten, their laws have you covered. Once a cat is born and until it opens its eyes, it is worth 1 ceiniog, 1/4 the value of an adult cat. After that, it's worth 2, until it starts catching mice when it reaches its final value of 4. And I think these qualifications are a little difficult to prove. Sure, you'll be able to see if a cat has opened their eyes, but you basically just have to take the owner's word that it can catch mice, unless you feel like hanging out with it in a barn until you've seen the proof yourself. However, for all you hopeful medieval cat scammers out there, these laws have one more trick up their sleeve. If a cat is deficient in any of these qualities, from mouse catching to having claws to wailing at the moon to having burn marks, 1/3 of its value must be returned. So while that means the buyer has a bit of protection if their cat turns out to be generally terrible, that also means that the seller would be obligated to refund some money if their cat suddenly started wailing at the moon. Also, why did they make it so you had to return 1/3 of something worth 4? I don't know. But looking at this drawing of the codification of the Welsh laws, do you think anyone here pondered on the return policy of cats? Chapter 2. Cat Products. You may have noticed something unusual. Gwynedd and Gwent just say, oh, if the cat is deficient in any qualities, you have to return some value, but Dyfed is a little weird. They specify that you can be refunded 1/3 of the cat's worth because we don't feed on its milk. And while yes, that is true, it's quite an odd specification, and it's unique in this part of Wales. In fact, it's so unique, the laws of Dyfed bring up this qualification twice, in what I believe is one of the greatest legal passages in all of history. According to these laws, cats produce a product known as worthless milk. They claim that alongside the milk of a female dog and a female horse, all three of these products will receive no compensation. Moving on, we don't have any more cat products, but we have laws about the ownership of cats, and they're a bit unexpected too. The laws of Gwynedd and Dyfed specify how a married couple is to divide ownership of household furniture, which includes cats. According to these lawmakers, the husband would own just one of the house's cats. Every other one would belong to the wife. Plus, if someone was to die and leave no heir, their estate would pass to the king, and the official in charge of sorting all that out, known as the ringis, would get to keep a few things from the property. The laws from Gwynedd specify that they would get the meat, the butter, the flax, the corns, the hens, the fuel axe, and the cats. These laws have some interesting differences across Wales too. In Dyfed they let the official keep all of the axes, and in Gwent they throw in any geese, plus any reaping hooks. So this establishes two things. Firstly, if you wanted to take up a career as a ringis, Gwent seems to have given you the most free stuff. Secondly, we've seen that all cats except for one were the legal property of the wife in medieval Wales. And if someone was to die without an heir, they would pass to the king's ringis. I imagine then, during times of war or plague, that the court officials would suddenly be inundated with dozens and dozens of cats. Finally, Chapter 3, Cat Crime. There are two crimes outlined in the laws of Wales that are specifically to do with cats. The first is their fault. If a cat causes damage to someone's flax garden while attempting to catch a mouse, the owner would rightfully have to pay for the damages. The second is what happens when a cat is stolen, injured, or unfortunately worse. The penalty for this is only mentioned in two of the legal texts, and it is as follows. The cat is to be held with its head to the ground and tail lifted up. Wheat is then poured around it until the tail is completely covered. And that is the fine paid to the owner. Now, the Gwent laws specify that this is only the case if it happens to the king's cat. However, the laws from Dyfed mention that the fine towards that cat can either be paid in wheat or with an adult sheep and her lambs. Also, the cat is fairly likely to be alive in this situation, for this fine of wheat to be measured. Which means in medieval Wales, it was someone's job to hold down a live cat on the floor so that it could be covered in grain, which could arguably be one of the most difficult jobs a Welsh court official would ever have to face. We've now covered the three highly important sectors of medieval Welsh cat law, Cyfreith Cath, which means that we can finally come to the most important question I've ever had to answer. One that we've all been wondering since birth, whether you've known it or not. Mr. Chronicles, if I were to travel back in time to medieval Wales and finally take up my lifelong dream of becoming a cat salesman, how would I do this? Step 1 to any business: acquire product. Luckily for you, in exchange for protein and nutrients, two cats can magically produce several more smaller ones. Product secured. Alternatively, become a ringis during a time of disease or war. Lots of empty uninherited houses means lots of cats moving into your possession. Step 2. Maximize value. As the laws in Gwynedd showed, an adult cat is worth more than a kitten, but the various law codes in Wales have different restrictions on what makes a fully valuable cat. The laws from Gwynedd have the least requirements, as we've seen, while the ones from Gwent have the most, so once you've acquired your cats, wait until they start to catch mice, and then make sure you move to Gwynedd, where you can sell your tailless, toothless, inbred cats in peace. Step 3. Reinvest your money. What use is it if it's just sitting around? If you sell enough cats, you might be able to afford a medieval mansion, but alternatively, you could just double it. Firstly, make sure you're still in Gwynedd. Cool. Then find some geese. The law codes from North Wales value a goose at 1 ceiniog, so in exchange for your cat, you could get 4 geese. Next, travel down to Dyfed. The laws here specify a goose is worth 2 ceiniog. You've now discovered the ultimate loophole. As long as you're willing to travel for days and days on end through remote, treacherous countryside, risking violence and disease, and all while carrying several cats and geese. Not to mention, this all depends on there being a need for both cats and geese to be bought and sold, and also for these laws to represent regional differences, because if you remember, some of these texts might just show how the law evolved over time, but you can figure all of that out then. I'm sure it will go just fine. Finally, don't forget the 2 most important steps. Step 4. Do not sell cat milk. If you recall, cat milk is legally worthless, don't even try it. And step 5. For morale, always try to remember the most famous cat of all, Garfield. Specifically, that these Welsh laws of the cats were actually mentioned in an episode of The Garfield Show. Here, he sees the King of Wales personally proclaim that cats are to be protected because they are cute, clever, and excellent at catching mice. Exactly what we just covered. Except that these laws don't mention them being clever. Sorry, Garfield. So now, you can sell your cats in the wilds of Wales, knowing that following this simple 5-step plan will bring you great riches. And with your newfound wealth, you will be forever remembered throughout history as the richest cat salesperson Wales has ever seen. As thanks to me for creating this foolproof plan, you will fund a statue with a plaque simply saying, "Thanks, Cambrian Chronicles," and it will puzzle historians for years to come, until ultimately falling into obscurity, with none of it surviving apart from vague notes and mentions from centuries ago. Until, one day, in an old forgotten journal, I come across a mention of an odd, ancient statue in Wales. Cambrian Chronicles. That sounds like the perfect name for that YouTube channel I've been wanting to make. And then, again, this video is made. And then, again, the future you is inspired to once more go back in time and become a cat salesperson, starting the cycle again and again and again and again. We will be like 2 washing machines placed opposite one another, forever cycling, forever linked. And after all that, you might be thinking, what is the takeaway from all of this? How am I meant to feel after this fundamentally ego-altering and shattering information? Well, I said it at the very start. Meow.